Hello everyone, my name is Senad Aruc and I'm a lead architect at Gatewatcher. Today I'm going to speak about the encrypted traffic and how NDR can overcome this challenge. As we all know today, the encrypted traffic, especially TLS 1.3, is making a huge overcome of the overall internet traffic in the world. A lot of internet services has been already moved to the TLS 1.3 and more are going to follow. To be able to overcome this challenge in the world, we really need to sit down and go back to the basics, especially when we are speaking about the encryption. There is two use cases in the world when we are speaking about the encryption and privacy. First one is a private privacy needs, right? Like everybody in the world, and even myself, like an individual, I really want to have a private browsing. I really want to have a HTTPS over every single connection that I am doing. I really want to have my DNS history protected. And especially, I really want to use Tor to be able to overcome some kind of limitations and filtering techniques that are used in the world. So this is normal for a user like myself when I'm on the private need. Same myself when I'm on the corporate network, right? So in my corporate network, I'm trying to block the Tor traffic, right? I'm trying to monitor the DNS queries, and I'm trying to monitor my web history and the web history of my employees. And especially, this is what a customer wants, because the attackers and the bad guys going to use this encryption and this privacy to hide their bad intent within our companies. Speaking about the encrypted traffic, right, and how we can SSL offload these technologies, for sure, there is a lot of technologies that who can do this, right? We have a network packet brokers, we have a WAF, we have a load balancers, we have a TAP SSL, VTAPs, we have a proxies, we have a lot of firewalls which can do also SSL offload, right? So we can use these technologies to decipher the encrypted traffic. Despite all the technologies, right, it is not possible to decipher 100% of the flow at any level. But is this a problem? Well, no, because encrypted flows are reality within our life. So there is a lot of encrypted flows that is not accessible for us. There are a lot of payloads that they don't use TLS encryption. They use RC4, they use embedded encryption technologies, so they are invisible to our SSL offload technologies. However, there is a lot of remains from the encryption traffic, right? That we can analyze using GA3 and GA3S signatures, where we can do some kind of analysis without decrypting the traffic itself. And the last that we are left with is a network traffic metadata that we call NetFlow. Okay, so by exploiting or analyzing this kind of metadata using machine learning models or statistical analysis algorithm, we can detect a lot from without decrypting the traffic itself. Now, is the metadata a new goal, right? Let me show you. First of all, what is metadata? Okay, so if we are trying to explain metadata with a phone call, right? So the metadata is a phone call between myself and my colleague, right? So Senad is calling Felipe, right? We know exactly from which number Senad called Felipe, what time the call happened, how long the call lasts, etc., etc. So this is the metadata. While the content is the speech that we discuss with Felipe, right? So that's the encrypted part of our conversation, right? So that's what we call payload itself or the data itself. Speaking about the metadata and the characteristics of it, right? So metadata is highly suitable for investigation and analysis. Okay, so because it contains a lot of things, right, that we can detect, but of course this doesn't contain the payload itself, but it's extremely rich from the information perspective. Metadata can help us to answer the very important question within the cybersecurity world, right? What happened, right? This is mainly used by the technologies like IDS and stuff like that, especially who, right? This is where the IDS with threat intelligence is coming in, right? Who is attacking us? And then when this happened, right? Statistical and temporal probabilities can detect this kind of or can answer this kind of question. And then how to prevent or how to detect these kind of things, right? So machine learning and artificial intelligence can help you in this field. Even if we can do all of these things, right? Well, simple encryption is not the only constraint for the network flow analysis. Why I'll say this is that if you check the attack frameworks such as that are using command and control, right? They don't require encryption, right? Because most of the time they embed or they do certificate pinning or they embed the private keys using RC4 within the dropper itself. So decryption is useless. Also, they use a lot of encoding and obfuscation techniques, right? Using especially on the PowerShell attacks, which is impossible to detect without a specific analysis. So SSL offloading is not useful in these two scenarios. If you check and analyze all the APT attacks, you're going to see that only using NetFlow, we can detect the frameworks used in all of those attacks. The second, you're going to see the detection rate is up to 100%. And the false positive rates are really, really low when we are doing detection against the APT attacks using NetFlow. Speaking about the brute Ratel and Cobalt Strike, right? We all know that these two tools are legitimately used for the pen tester and red team's activities, especially for the security posture and for the security posture and the assessment activities within a company. Unfortunately, these two tools are heavily used by the bad guys and especially on the APT attacks. Speaking about the command and control center, right, and the traffic or CNC activity, right, we can see that there is a 40% increase between 2020 and 2021. Okay, we see that there is more than 10,000 CNC command and control server, especially in France, which is a number 6 array on the list of the countries which most have the CNC traffic. Bad guys, they are always trying to hide their CNC communication, right? They're always trying to be invisible to our SSL offloading or to any other tool that we are using to detect their activities. One of them is imitation. Okay, they always try to imitate their traffic like a legitimate traffic. The second thing, they use encryption. Okay, and they do this over and over again, especially using a static embedded encryption techniques and stuff like that. And another very heavily used technique is obfuscation. Okay, so this is especially making the analysis of the CNC traffic harder and harder. Now, at Gatewatcher, we like to present our Beacon Hunter, which will be our new engine within our NDR portfolio. What is Beacon Hunter? So Beacon Hunter is going to analyze network meta traffic and detect specific statistical distributions. He's going to identify connections to CNC, even with encryption and obfuscations are in place. He's going to detect also command and executed by the beacons, and also it's going to provide a global view of the periodic connection within the network. Next, I will show you a very nice and short video about a specific phishing attack where we have the attackers, we have the victim, we have the command and control server, and the analyst. At this video, we're going to see what kind of detection techniques are used by the analyst and how much time the analyst needs to spend to be able to detect this kind of attack versus our solution, which we're going to detect it in pure automatic fashion. Yeah, here in this video, you're going to see the attackers, the victim, the command and control server, and the analyst itself. The attacker is launching a CNC server and sends a malicious email to the victim. Let's see how is that happen. So as you can see here, he's using a Cobalt strike. So in this scenario, he is phishing the victim itself. After the victim is executing the attachment, the infected machine is connecting to the command and control server by informing the attacker that we have a successful victim with a successful infection. Next, here we're going to see how the victim's compromised machine is connected to the CNC server with the interval of 60 seconds to receive a new actions from the malicious guys, from the malicious attackers. As you can see here, every 16 seconds is making a heartbeat to a CNC server asking for a new action. And those periodic encrypted connections can be detected just by running Wireshark and trying to figure out if you see the similar pattern repeating on the same exact time. By IonIQ, all the analysis of the metadata is happening automatically. So we check these periodic connections by analyzing them and by alerting you automatically. Now, speaking about the attackers who wants to become stealthy, right? Who don't want to have a very constant 60-second connection, right? What they do, they push a random sleep method, right? Where they're going to say to an infected host, connect to me in random, not on the always in the same time. Let's see how is that happens. As you can see now here, the infected machine is reaching out to the CNC server in 20 seconds, the second is 18 seconds, etc., etc. So basically, he's making a random connection to CNC server to bypass the detection. Well, like an analyst, it's really hard to detect this kind of things using Wireshark because you don't have a similar pattern. You're going to see a very, very random pattern here. So it's nearly impossible to detect it without a proper investigation. Thanks to IonIQ, we are able to detect also this kind of attack. As you can see here, we analyze the metadata, and even if it's a pseudo-random, we can still detect it. Yes. So again, here is some alerts which is coming to our solution. Here you can see, especially when we detected everything that has a 60-second range, and then we also detected everything, even with the variable of the random, let's say, connect time to the CNC server. Yeah, this is not a signature-based detection. So this is a pure machine learning and supervised machine learning detection. To be able to show you that, I'm going to show you last the machine learning, let's say, receipt, how we detect this. It's just for your reference, so you can be sure that we are not using any other technology which is not useful in this scenario, but we are using a machine learning. Let's conclude. Okay, regardless of what kind of obfuscation and encryption techniques they're going to use, Beacon Hunter is going to catch them. Okay. Also, another very important thing here is that we're going to detect every single release that they're going to push in the future. Lastly, the Beacon Hunter is going to be included on the IonIQ version 1.03 by end of the March 2023 for free. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for listening me. And please ping us back if you need to learn more or to do a POC within your own environment using our solutions. Thank you.